So Dennis, my friend, this is not a trick question. Can you love someone unconditionally? I'm going to start with a quote by Khalil Gibran where he says, I can only understand love at first sight. How can you fall in love with someone you've known for 10 years? You're only getting used to them. You're not falling in love. You can only fall in love at first sight. That's the only true love. So when you love somebody at first sight, it is unconditional love because you know nothing about the other person. But can you go on loving someone unconditionally as you get to know them more and more and you find trouble spots, yet can you continue to love them?
So I'm going to say absolutely not. Not in this context. In my mind, I think that just because we meet somebody, and I'm going to challenge what you just said because I don't agree. And I mean that just simply by saying that, so love at first sight, I mean, there's still conditions, right? I mean, what we're saying is that, oh, I like the way this looks, the person looks, the way they talk. Really what we're saying is we like the way this individual makes me feel. But there's still conditions. There's absolutely conditions. And I have a theory, and my hypothesis is that unconditional love flows one way. There's only one source of unconditional love from human to human, and that's from parent to child. But even that is not an absolute. And people will go, oh, that's not true, Dennis. Like, Dennis, that's not true. Parents love their children unconditionally. Until they come out as gay, right? And now we're off to the races.
Okay, now I'm going to get a little bit philosophical about it. I think love can be unconditional. In fact, love can only be unconditional. Now, can you have an unconditional relationship? That's a completely different situation. But if you love someone, you just love someone. I'm not into mushy, sappy quotes where, if you love someone, set them free if they come back to the yours. You've heard that over the years. If you love somebody, you love somebody. Whether they conform to what you want them to do or not, whether they behave right or not, whether they love you back, is irrelevant. Now, could you be in a relationship with someone like that? I don't think so. A relationship is two-way. For a relationship to last, to establish, a husband and a wife, I can love her unconditionally, but can I stay with her? I'm not sure about that. Can I be in a relationship with her? I don't know, but I can continue to love her unconditionally.
Yeah, and I understand that, and also I'll go back and qualify my statement again. I believe unconditional love exists until we actually get to know the person.
Unconditional love still exists. Okay, you know what? A mother. A parent to a child. I mean, when you say that's unconditional, even if they come out as gay, you still continue to love them. But would you put up with them? No, maybe not. Would you? Your child becomes a felon and ends up in jail. You may resent, regret, repent, get angry, get upset, but you still love him.
Yeah, you know what? Listen, here's the thing, and here's the way I kind of reconcile this for me is, if my kid ends up in prison, that has nothing to do with me. That has to do with behaviors or actions or something that they did. That has nothing to do with my love for them. Love for April, my love for April is conditional. I mean, I'll just come right out and say it. It is conditional, as is hers for me. I don't get to just go out and have sex with whoever I want to, so there's a condition right there. I don't get to punch her in the face, so there's a condition right there. See, I think that we have to...
When we say conditionality, we're talking about regardless of what they do to you, will you love them?
Well,
not
I think
not what you do to them, but what they do to you.
But that's what I'm saying is no, absolutely not. I think that what we're talking about, I think sometimes we have to look at unconditional love I don't know. I think it's a construct that we ascribe to that we want to be prescriptive. We want to believe in it. But at the end of the day, like, we all have biases, we all have beliefs, we all have values, and just because we can take and make it, there's lots of people that live together. There's lots of people that live together, they have very successful relationships, and love has nothing to do with it at all. So again, I think when we talk about love, I think we want that, but I think we want that, But I don't think that unconditional love is necessarily a good thing. And so one of the things I was taught is, oh, God loves you unconditionally. But yet you still have to do so many prayers a day. You have to do so many rituals on Sunday or Wednesday or whenever it is in order to get that love. So even that is conditional. My love for God.
God's love is very conditional, because God, if you cross God, things go very south. You go to hell. You burn in eternal fire.
My love
that
for
is
God,
very conditional.
My love for God is unconditional, though, right? I mean, so from human towards God, that's unconditional. As far as human to human unconditional love, listen, I mean, here's the truth, and I can't get it because she's over there right now. But as far as unconditional love, there's things that my dogs do, but I love them unconditionally 100%. Both of my children, both of my boys, I love them to death. And but like there's times when they frustrate the living F out of me. Hey, 2 weeks, second week here, no gratuitous F words, 2 weeks in a row. We're gonna keep going.
You can do it, but I don't know. You can do it, but I don't know why you want to do it. But okay, let's prove to the audience that we can do it.
That's the only reason.
We can do it.
That's the only reason. In a couple weeks, I'll move on to the next. I'll conquer this one, and I'll move on to the next one, and then I'll go back to using gratuitous F words all over the place.
Also, people need to know that we're in control when we say that. It's not a slip. We know exactly what we're saying when we say.
Yes, and my feeling is with the F word, I prefer it to be more of an exclamation point and a point of emphasis. And if you just use it all the time, then it kind of loses its effect for really kind of making that impactful point. So, and as a speaker, my words, I have to choose my words and timing and everything else appropriately. But as far as unconditional love, I am going to say this. So, and I hear this from parents quite a bit is, oh, I love my child. And I'll just speak to the United States. Oh, I love my child. I love my child. Oh, I love my child. Oh, hey, how's your child doing? Oh, well, blah, blah, blah. Well, what's different? Well, then when you kind of get around to it, they came out as gay or trans or something other. In fact, I just was watching a video on a girl. This was a female here in the United States. It is a Muslim family, and she just came out. I never heard this either, but she just came out. Her parents Christian. So and now you're going through the whole conditionality of love thing, and her parents are pissed. Her parents were. Let me rephrase. She goes through the story and she talks about how her parents were really upset within a couple days. They got over it, and they told her, "We accept you. We love you, no matter what. We totally accept you." But what it was is that the girl who converted to Christianity is the one who put conditions on her parents. So her point was, well, now that I've converted, it's really sad because we won't end up in the same place after our death. So I can't have much communication with them. So now what you can see is the whole thing of now the child is putting conditions on the love that she provides toward her parents. So, I mean, religion plays a big part in this as well. And I'm going to love you. What I have found is the conditions are, I love you. I'm going to love you, but I don't want to be involved with you. I don't want to have anything to do with you because you're not doing what I think you should be doing or what I want you to do. And I experience this in my own family all the time, especially where religion is concerned.
But that's fair, you see? That's what I meant. Can you have a relationship is a completely different discussion. I still love you, but I can't hang out with you, man. I mean, I love you, but there are reasons where you and I can't hang out. We can't be friends. We don't. But sure. I love you.
Sure, but isn't it different? I mean, that's different in a romantic or partnership relationship, and then you also look at the relationship between a parent and a child. Friends, that's totally different in my book.
Partnership is again a relationship. So partnership, no. But in a romantic relationship where English doesn't have the word for extreme love. In Urdu or Arabic or Persian, we call it ishq, which is a superlative form of love.
Okay.
And we have, in our pop culture, we have all these stories of Romeo and Juliet maybe can be defined as ishq. The extreme of love. And in that case, you can lose your lover. You can lose your lover's love, yet you continue to love him. Yeah? So
Sure.
that's unconditional love. She doesn't love me back, but I still love her, man. And I'm not talking about I'm not talking about Lady Gaga. I'm just talking about the girl next door.
Sure.
So the thing is, unconditional love, in my opinion, can exist, but practically it does not exist because we attach love to what we get from it. We've done a show about it in the past, I think a couple of months ago.
Sure.
We don't really love each other. We love what we can get from each other. That is
Right.
the reason why people don't have unconditional love, because I love you and I want to make you my husband.
Yeah.
And if you don't become a husband, screw you, man. Burn in hell.
Right.
I'll throw acid in your face. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to break your heart. I'm going to shame you. I'm going to release, revenge porn or whatever. So the thing is, if we really, really love somebody, that can only be unconditionally. But we don't really love anybody because we love. There's always a deal. There's always a give and take. There's always some brokering going on. So true love can only be unconditional. And mind you, even parents to our children are not necessarily true love, because you know what? 99% of the time, a parent could love a child more than the other. They favor one child over the other. They favor their own happiness over the child's happiness. They favor their family's reputation over the child's happiness. They favor what they gain with the child's happiness instead of really seeing the child happy. Parents trying to put children into professions which they could not. We've heard stories in every culture. We've got these stories.
Sure. So then, would it be safe to say, or maybe a better question to ask is unconditional love based in selfishness? I mean, is it that we're able to love ourselves unconditionally, but not really others? I don't know.
Actually, you know what? Practically speaking, thank you, good point. Practically speaking, you can have unconditional love, and everybody has this unconditional love for themselves.
Sure. I mean, you think about it. Well, my opinion is correct. Well, why is your opinion correct? Because I think it is. Why?
Yeah.
How come it's okay for you to treat your son or daughter this way? Well, because they're doing wrong. Yeah. So why is it okay for you to treat your daughter-in-law or your son-in-law? Well, because I'm in charge, right? It always comes back to that ego, that id, that whole selfishness, I don't want to use selfishness, but self-centeredness in that. And what I will say is it's really an interesting concept because I end up working with so many people that their relationships end up, as an EAP provider, employee performance, so much bad days in the workplace occur because we bring baggage into the workplace from our we bring it in from our personal life, right? So now you think about this, and I deal with this quite often. I'm having a bad day. Well, what's going on in your personal life? What are you bringing to work? Oh, well, my boyfriend. I do this, but they don't love me. Well, what do you mean they don't love you? Well, they don't love me the way I love them. Nobody loves each other the way that we think we should be loved. I mean, does that make sense? I mean, we all
Absolutely.
have this idea of how we should be loved, but in many cases, we're not willing to take and give that same kind of love. Let me, I got to click off for just a minute. I'll be right back.
Yeah. Well, Bushra has asked, define unconditional. So I'm going to take this right now. Unconditional is where it doesn't matter what the other person's doing to you, how the other person's behaving, you still continue to love them. And when I say love, it does not necessarily mean a relationship, give or take anything, but just love, that feeling of care, affection. There's also unrequited love, where when somebody doesn't love you back, do you still continue to love them? That, in my opinion, is unconditional love, where you don't put justifications or reasons or boundaries to that love, or give or take. I love you if, I love you when. It's like, I love you. That's it. I love you. It doesn't matter when, how, what. I love you. And that is what unconditional love. No matter what you do, no matter where we go, no matter what happens, I love you. I will always care for you. I will always be there for you. But you know what? There's a but, And I don't think that but destroys the unconditionality. The but is, I can't be with you.
Okay.
I can't spend time with you. You're my sister. I love you dearly, but you know we've got different habits, and at times you nag me. So I don't want to be with you. I don't want to hang out with you. But push comes to shove, I'll be there for you because I love you. You're my sister, or a woman or a man. We love them because no one's perfect.
Right.
But you love them enough to love them, but you don't love them. You don't have to sacrifice or just kill yourself to be with them. You don't have to destroy yourself in this love,
Right.
but you love them. Does that make sense, Dennis?
Yeah, and I apologize for that. Thank you for
That's right, man.
for taking that over. Yeah, I completely agree. It comes down to, I think, one, unconditional love is kind of hard to define. I think it's also that you can love somebody and absolutely want nothing to do with them.
Yeah,
and I
there you
think
go.
that ends up becoming that's a very challenging position to be in. And what I hear, what I've heard when I've worked with parents when they're like, oh well, especially like a religious parent. And over here in the United States, it's predominantly Christian. So when I have a Christian parent, and this is not about Christianity at all, it's that there's a religious context, and they're like, well, you know what? I love my child, but they came out as gay. Well, so what is it that in Christianity we have this? There's this saying, and look, this it doesn't set well with me at all, which is that hate the sin but love the sinner. Like that just does not that just doesn't make very clear sense to me at all, and I don't think that that's really a delineation that humans are capable of making, because the person is the one committing the sin, right? So they're tied together. FQ, I think it's I don't know that there's any real answers for this particular topic. I think what this is sometimes we have to take and say, I love you, however, I love myself more. And because I love myself more, I'm not going to tolerate the type of behavior that you're willing to bring into my life, or the type of results, consequences, whatever we want to say. So can you take and love somebody that does something that you don't like? Yes. However, we can say that we love them, but if we claim to love this person but not like their behavior, then we cannot act in a hateful way towards them, and that's where I typically see it. It's a real stuck state for people.
When we started the show, I was a different opinion, but I think my opinion has completely shifted. In the beginning, I was saying unconditional love is the only kind of love. And, yes, but the only person you love unconditionally is yourself. Because initially I was saying unconditional love is okay, I love you, but I can't be with you. Then
Sure.
you don't really love them unconditionally.
Right.
If you love somebody unconditionally, you would destroy yourself in the process. And the
Yes.
only person to destroy yourself for is yourself.
That's
So
it.
I stand corrected completely. No, you cannot love anybody else unconditionally. Someone, yes, you, but you
Yeah.
cannot love another person unconditionally. You cannot, because for yourself, you're willing to destroy yourself. You're willing to annihilate yourself. You're willing to make the stupidest, most retarded, stupid mistakes as long as it pleases yourself. You know you're making a fool of yourself, yet you do it because you love yourself. I love myself so much. And like Woody Allen, I love the quote, don't stop me from masturbation and sex with somebody I love dearly. So,
Right.
yeah, the only unconditional love is for yourself.
And I would agree with that. And even though and the interesting thing is, and I do believe that we have unconditional love for ourselves. However, I want to say in that same process, though, we take and treat ourselves, in many cases, we treat ourselves like absolute garbage. And so that's where sabotage comes in. What's that?
Bina across the hall sitting there, and she said, you know what, she doesn't want to come to the camera. She said, you need to love yourself to be able to love somebody else. But I would add, if you love yourself so much, you would have no love to give to anybody else.
True.
You'd be so self-obsessed, like you,
Yeah.
girl, self-obsessed.
Well, and I think children, I think love is different when we look at different relationships. And so there's a lot of people, like my next door neighbor. How about there's somebody that lives over this way to me, and our fences are connected. Never met them. I have love for that person, but I have love for them. That part of it is unconditional. But it's also easier to have unconditional love for someone you've never met, talked to, or anything else. Like, oh, what, they're probably a wonderful human being. So now I get to create what they are. And why can't I do that towards somebody, somebody else? Well, because I know them. So really, knowledge and selfishness are what kill unconditional love towards other people. And so as far as human to human, I think it's just a very difficult thing, construct for us to grasp. I think we like the idea of it. I think parents certainly take and like throw that around. I think parents throw that around to make their kids feel guilty all the time.
Yeah.
But I've always loved you unconditionally. Well, no, you don't. You have, and in fact, I just heard this recently from it's an in-law situation. Oh, we've always just loved everybody unconditionally. Well, no, you haven't. No, you haven't. Because you show the percentage of love that you show towards people at your church compared to people not at your church is very different. So that's not unconditional. There's always conditions. There's always benchmarks. There's just, as humans, we just compete that way. We always do. So I think that the most important part in this whole thing, FQ, is for each person to acknowledge where they sit with this topic. Oh, I love unconditionally. No, you don't.
I think parental love is the most conditional love. Calling that unconditional is a scam.
Interesting.
That is the most conditional love, because parents, not only just children who they're trying to steer into the right direction, that is fine. But adults they try to steer, that is not unconditional love. That is very conditional love. You got to marry somebody they like. You got to be in a profession they like. You gotta do the things they like, and it doesn't matter who's right. And we're not saying right or wrong. There's no right or wrong. You can be doing a perfectly right thing, but if it's not the same right thing that they want you to do, it's no good. They make children competitive with each other. They tax children's affections. They use children for their own personal ego. So I think parental love is probably the most conditional love.
I think it certainly can be. And I agree with what you're saying. And I do want to come out and say this. I just want to, to me, this is an extremely important point to make, which is that if anybody in a relationship is ascribing or trying to provide unconditional love, especially parent to child, unconditional love flows downhill. It flows from parent to child. Your child has a choice, especially when they have a choice all along. But when they become an adult, they have a choice. They might live with you, they might do stuff for you, but they have a choice into whether or not they love you. So if you want your child to love you, do stuff worthy of love. And
set them free. And set them free. If you love them, set them free. If they do what you wanted them to do, great. If not, greater.
Yeah, and I think that that's more of a concept in your part of the world, because over here in the U.S., it's once you're between 18 and 21, if you're not in college, get the F out. We kick our kids out here. We kick them out of the nest quite often.
No, well, even if you kick them out, you still expect them to conform to your way of doing things.
Certain ones do. I do not. My thing is,
you're unique. We have you can't throw yourself in the mix. Generally, now by law, because we've done a show on age of consent before.
Yeah.
You don't have to conform, but there will always be this emotional blackmail and that emotional pull where parents will either try to force you. They can't force you the way they can force in my part of the world. But in your part of the world, they would force you with guilt, emotionally blackmailing you.
Yeah.
Guilt. They would use guilt against you. In my part of the world, there is again the guilt, but also the social construct. In your case, the social construct is much looser, but they still want the same thing. Okay, let me rephrase it. Whether it happens or not, that is what they want. So their love is not unconditional.
It is not unconditional. No,
it's just the environment is. The environment is making the dynamics different.
Absolutely.
But for the reference of this discussion, parental love is, and you know what? In comparison to parental love, I think romantic love is more unconditional, and I'm going to throw this one here. More than women, men love unconditionally. Men would go out on a limb to please a woman. A woman will not do as much for a man as a man would do for a woman to please her. That's my... Now the women are going to go against me, man.
I don't even know. I don't know that I have a response to that. I mean, you know
you're
what?
You're too scared, man.
That's it. No, here's what I'm going
to
to say. I don't know if I agree with you, but I love you anyway.
You know I'm on the right thing. You know I'm onto something there, right?
I do think that you're onto something, and I think that what we're talking about. So here in the United States, I mean, for the most part, a woman's survival is not connected or directly connected to a man or a man's parents or you know, that sort of thing. It's just a level of independence that women in the United States have over, you know, other parts of the world. So I mean, a lot of times I think I don't know, you know, when we look at, and perhaps one thing we should look at is the pros and cons of arranged marriages or parental involvement in marriages versus what we do over here. Because let's do
that this week. But let's do that this week.
Yeah.
But I'm going to interrupt, man. Even there, it doesn't matter which culture, the most progressive Western culture, women get the hook, men take the bait, they get hooked, and they do way more for women than women do for men. Women use manipulation, blackmail, guilt, the weaker sex, the whole game. It's still played even in the West, man.
Sure.
Not generally speaking,
but I'll speak to the Western world, FQ.
A man can't even play the game. A man can't even play the game.
I think that women know, regardless, over here in this country, and I would say it's pretty universal, women know that men will do stupid things. Men will
Thank you very much.
Men will abandon all logic. Men will abandon all intelligence and everything just because I might in 5 years get a piece of ass from this person. Like as soon as women turn around and shake their booty or they show their boobs, I mean, a man will do pretty much anything to get a hold of that. And so,
bro, I take offense. Don't say just because. Take out the just because. A man would do stupid. You calling it stupid things. The thing is, he loves her unconditionally, and he's willing to go an extra mile.
I think guys will get. I think males will. I don't think it's unconditional love, and I don't think it has anything to do with that. It's unconditional. What they have unconditional behaviors and actions that they will take and engage in for their unconditional lust. So I think it just. I think it's just. I don't know that unconditional love truly can exist other than towards ourselves. And I think in some situations it is towards from a parent to a child. But again, a child is not obligated. And I want to I want to harp on that for a minute because of that guilt trip and emotional blackmail stuff of, I've loved you so much and I've always loved you. Like, no, you haven't. No, you haven't. So that's an emotional blackmail. Like, stop saying that. Let's stop doing that to our kids. Let's stop doing that to other people. Don't put a guilt trip on somebody you claim to love, because love wouldn't make someone else feel that way.
Well, you know what? I think we have a brand new topic, man. There's enough controversy going on here. I say men love women unconditionally. People are saying women do. I think we should continue this topic tomorrow.
Absolutely.
And I invite people to send in to join in. We'll open the channel tomorrow if somebody wants to join in.
Yeah, and actually, what I want to say, FQ, is if you haven't done so with me yet, go ahead and connect with me. And send us even with FQ, and send us some messages. Like, go on our feed and send us some questions or something that you would like us to talk about in context of unconditional love. We'd love to take and conquer that, and that'll help get some of your other questions answered as well. You ready for questions here or some comments, FQ?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Let's do it before we run out of time.
You're a good friend, you're Fawn.
Thank you. I agree, man. That's
Yeah,
what I said
you're
in the
fun.
beginning.
That's
that the only love is unconditional love.
That's
everything
deep.
else is a deal, man.
That's deep. I like that. Yeah, cool. More and more, I see their flaws. Yeah, see, this is what I'm saying, Rafia. Perfect. And more you get to know somebody. So again, to my point is that you have unconditional love, so you think, until you get to know the person, and then you can start putting some conditions and qualifications on it.
Well, I'm going to say it differently. It's always conditional love. In the beginning, you think they are conforming to conditions. As you find out they're not conforming to your conditions, it leaves a bad taste. It's always a conditional thing.
Sure. This is an interesting one. Aisha, thank you for wearing your mask, Aisha. I appreciate that. For your children, parents, and siblings.
That is the most conditional love.
Yeah, I think we've talked about that. So thank you. I think this is a good one too. Infatuation can happen, and it happens. Yeah, I've had it on many occasions. Me too, Zulfikar. Me too. Infatuation is
with myself.
Easy. Oh,
Dennis is infatuated with himself. And do you blame him? Come on, do you blame me? It's obvious.
I mean, like I literally just had a conversation with my wife over the weekend and said I said it was about I was wearing a certain pair of pants. I've always liked them, and she goes, "Yeah, I've never really liked those. I never understood why you wore them." And she goes, "Well, how come you don't? What's changed in your mind?" I said, "Because I walk by the mirror and I see myself, and I don't think they look that great on me." So I'm very impressed with myself. I've never made any comments to the contrary, but I'm pretty amazing. So you should probably be impressed with me as well.
Absolutely, man.
Let's see what old Kushbu has to say. Unless one there, because there's a true test of unconditional loving. Yeah, love. Kushbu, I just want to say, when you look at the, I think love is extremely challenging for us as humans because we're so prone to looking inward. We're so prone to this self perspective that I want to just say that, like, I think that's why all of the major religious texts, regardless of which faith you are, they all talk multiple occasions about love and how to love, and it gives examples of how to love. And I think the reason for that is because it is so challenging for us as humans to accomplish that. So thank you. Very good. Excellent.
Dude, there's some interesting comments, man. We got to take this.
Yeah.
Guys don't love and they're lusting. So what's wrong with that? Sex is sex, love is love, man. When they're lusting, they're not loving. When they're loving, they're loving. When they fall in love, they love. They give up everything for a woman.
It's really interesting, and I'll say this because a lot of the comments that we get, or you can see that where people's experiences are. I have a good friend. That used to many years ago. This is a female. Many years ago, used to work in a bar, and so now if I say something like, "Oh well, what do you think about this? What do you think? Oh well, all men are this way. All men are this way." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Well, when I worked in the bar, this is what men did. I'm like, dude, that was 20 years ago. Like, so carry our experiences forward, and those experiences end up becoming the conditions by which we judge other people, and whether they're worthy.
And a few drunk men at the bar does not reflect the whole mankind. Marriage is a pact agreement. Mona, interesting point. We can take that as a topic, Dennis. Maybe it's a pact agreement and deal, nothing more.
Yeah, I've made my Mona. Thank you. I'm not disputing that at all. I think there's plenty of people that love each other, and I've seen some amazing relationships where it just seems like love is just everywhere with this couple. And then I get to talking with them, and then I find out. And my point is that they're not married. They're not married. There's no type of governmental or social contract. All they've done is they've made an agreement between each other, and that agreement is based on love. So I like that, but what I can say is that I think a lot of times we think that, it's unconditional love, we just love each other. April and I love each other AF, capital AF. Again, trying not to use the F word. So, but we sometimes fight. We disagree, we fight, I don't necessarily like all of her behavior, she doesn't like all of mine. In a relationship, what we're talking about isn't so much unconditional love as what we are willing to take and tolerate. And tolerate's not a bad word. Look at the definition of compromise. Now that's coming together of two foes, two sides that are opposed coming together. I'm not opposed. So April and I are not opposed. We're on the same page. We're humans. We sometimes we have hiccups and little glitches. So it's getting back on that same page. That's how the love is what continues us to be able to make agreements. In fact, we just did it this weekend. And we had to take and make new relationship agreements because we've come to a time where we had to reassess. April and I were a bit weird in that we run, I insist that we run our business, our marriage like a business, and she's agreeable. And what that means is that we have meetings. We have bi-weekly meetings. We have business meetings about our relationship specifically. So I highly encourage people to do that.
So that's a love relationship, a relationship which stems from love. So in fact,
that's correct.
Here's a comment, man. Here's a comment. If you think in terms of evolution, their parents love and care for the children because they want the genes to get at the end. Thank you very much. That's an interesting comment.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of like when I've heard about multiple wives or and lots of children and stuff. I mean, our societies have changed to where we don't necessarily, at least where I live, a lot of people don't need multiple wives and children to help work the fields and everything else. So I think we've created an industrialized society. I think we've created an opportunity for there to be more love. That's my of course, just opinion. There's no science or data for that to be based.
Okay, this comment is important. I need to take. It's just two men talking about how women are and how women think and feel. Typical society. Asma, first of all, we are not talking about how women feel. We're saying how we think they feel. It's our opinion. One. Secondly, we welcome people to come in. You're welcome to join in tomorrow night and say your piece if you want. If you do want to join in, tune in tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Pakistan time, and just comment that you want to join in, and I'll give you the link. And you're welcome to come say your piece. Otherwise, hold your peace forever. Don't accuse us for doing something if you don't want to put your mouth where your money is.
Yeah, and all I'm going to say to that is I love Asma way too much to say what's on my tongue. So probably best we move on.
There you go. Yeah. Why the F are men being so freaking stupid? It's not unconditional in men's part. They want physical. What's so stupid about that? When they want physical gratification, they do what they do to get physical gratification. When they want to love you, they love you. Why are you confusing the two? If they want physical gratification, they're doing what they do. They're doing the bird dance, the feather dance, the mating dance. What's wrong with it? Anything else, man?
I don't have anything on that one. I don't even think I totally know what that means, but
yeah, it's all right, man.
That's okay. I appreciate everybody's comments. I think love is a very difficult, it's a complex emotion. It's a complex topic. If it wasn't so complex, we wouldn't, the early Greeks wouldn't have written about 3 different types of love. So, and what I learned today, and so I just want to say, I'm super excited and happy because I learned about the concept of ishq today. So for me, this has been an amazing topic. I'm looking forward to talking about it again tomorrow. And I just want to say, regardless of the conditions that we put on things, when we take and focus on how can I love you the most, how can I show you love, we're going to mess it up and we're going to fuck it up sometimes.
Oh!
Nope, that was intentional. Nope, that was intentional.
Yeah, but still.
So, with that, even though we do that, it comes down to the effort, putting in the effort towards loving each other. Again, I don't know. I don't know very many of my neighbors at all, but I certainly can show love to them. All of the major religious texts talk about this, and the reason to love our neighbor, and the reason is because when we love somebody else, we actually love ourselves more. So, complex topic, but at the end of the day, when you work hard to show love, when you work hard to love somebody the way they need to be loved, now we start to bring that conditionality down, because now we're focused on loving them as opposed to them doing what we want to shower them with our love. That's what I have for everybody today. Thanks. I look forward to continuing this tomorrow. So stay safe, healthy, and blessed.
And before we close, we invite people to join in. Yeah, we are two men talking about these complex issues of love, relationship, divorce, and stuff like that. We invite women who watch us to just
Please.
message me or Dennis, and we'll take you in. We would love to hear what you have to say. Don't be a silent spectator. Otherwise, if you don't do that, then silently enjoy what two men have to say about you and deal with it. See you tomorrow.
See you
Good night.
tomorrow. Take care.